Coming up, our SSR team is going to be breaking down all of the postseason happenings for our Michigan State squads, including basketball, gymnastics, wrestling, and hockey.
The wait is over. That time of year that everybody just cannot get enough of is finally here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Spartan Sports Report's special, very special Selection Sunday show for 2026. Welcome in. And Michaela, there's so many different Spartan teams and Spartan athletes that are going to be all over the nation, and it's going to be a lot of fun this March.
It's going to be a blast, and it's such a fun time to be on campus right now. The weather is slowly starting to get a little bit warmer. Everyone's just had spring break, ready to finish off that semester and watch some great sports as well. And
no better time to do it is March, and no better sport to kick us off than men's basketball. The bracket is here, ladies and gentlemen. Make your picks, and specifically for this Michigan State team, they will be in the East region. Yep, we're going to take a look at that bracket in just a moment. Michigan State projected to be a 2 seed kind of originally, but then they lost to UCLA in the Big Ten tournament, and Purdue won the Big Ten tournament, so changed some things there. Purdue now the 2 seed, and Michigan State down to the 3 seed. Yeah, and if you're somebody out there that is wondering how much does the Big Ten tournament really matter, well, you might have an answer for your argument there, because Purdue, of course, as you mentioned, jumping Michigan State, taking that 2 seed, and MSU falling to the 3. But of course, 2, 3, it's all hearsay, right? You're playing, and for Coach Izzo, it's 28 straight. Yep, the number 1 seeds this year, Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. But here's what Michigan State's region looks like this year. Yeah, and for Michigan State, you see the top 8 seeds. You've seen them all. You've either played them or you've seen them this season if they're out of conference. And for Michigan State, of course, you know, it's a group that when you have that familiarity, it's a lot easier. And the only team they haven't had familiarity with is, of course, Louisville, the number 6 seed in the same region as Michigan State. And of course, if the Spartans make it past their opponent, which we'll get to very shortly, they will be facing off against UConn in a potential Sweet 16 matchup if the Spartans can make it that far. They will. Their opponent this time is the 14 seed North Dakota State University. They are 27-7, and NDSU, they've made a pretty good amount of tournament appearances previously, and they're the Summit League regular season and tournament champs. They've got to be coming in, Jack, hoping for the upset against Michigan State. Yeah, of course, and I think when you look at this region, right, how about UCLA right there, the opponent that just knocked off Michigan State in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament? They're awaiting a dangerous spot if they can make some magic happen of their own. But of course, you see Michigan State there, the 3 versus 14 in Buffalo, New York, ladies and gentlemen. That should be a great matchup between the Spartans and the Bison. And for this North Dakota State group, I mean, it's a team that can catch you by surprise in a little bit. We'll get into them shortly. But for the Spartans, you want to settle it and win the weekend. That's something that we heard at Selection Sunday. That's something we've heard in the locker room. Win the weekend is what MSU is going to be trying to do. Yeah, and just another interesting little tidbit. All the teams that Michigan State played last year in March Madness did not make the tournament this year. But now take a look at yesterday's Selection Sunday reaction videos. We were both there. It was so much fun. Also hear from Coach Izzo and Jackson Kohler about the early preparations heading into Thursday's matchup.
Just different things going against man, because you got to do all those things because you don't know what someone's going to bring on you.
We're playing our best basketball. You know, we had some highs and lows, but also this is a time where we have to show the new guys and the young guys what this is like.
MSU against North Dakota State University, hopefully coming in with some of that good preparation. And just like last year when Michigan State went to the Elite Eight in March Madness, a lot of things usually seem to happen in clusters around the time. So the Spartan faithful are got to be hoping for a repeat of last year's run.
Yeah, you can't put it any perfectly than that, Michaela. And let's take a look at this North Dakota State group because it's a team that has had a lot of success this season. Take a look at that footnote there on the bottom right. You'll see two players, taller than 6'7" on the roster. And combating that, Michigan State there on the bottom left. It's a group that's one of the best in the Big Ten when it comes to rebounding. So you got to look at the forward play, at the front court play for Michigan State. You have the other stats there. And for this Bison team, they're one of the best in the country when it comes to shooting the cover off the basketball. They can fire it from three, over 25 threes attempted on the season, and they're 14-2 when that shooting percentage on the game is higher than 40%. So if you're MSU, you got to play some defense. You got to guard those ball screens that Coach Izzo has talked about being an issue the past couple weeks. And if you're the Bison, you got to knock down shots and you got to keep Michigan State off the glass.
Yep, the defense is extremely important, but so is the generation of the offense. So naturally, all eyes are inevitably going to fall onto these teams' floor generals, Jeremy Fears Jr. for Michigan State and Damari Wheeler-Thomas for North Dakota State.
Yeah, and it's a big opportunity for Damari Wheeler-Thomas to kind of establish his name into not only Bison history, but national history as well. If he can have some success, he's a very quick guard. He can get to the rim at any certain point. Same thing can be said for Jeremy Fears. We know how he can create for his teammates, so that battle should be a lot of fun.
It certainly will be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that one on Thursday. But North Dakota State's worst loss was a 10-point loss to the University of El Paso, who were 11-20 back in December.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we just mentioned that stat that they're 14-2 when shooting over 40% from three. Well, one of those two losses came on this exact date, and it was just tough for the Bison. They didn't have all their stuff with them that game. Maybe, you say that they did shoot the ball well, which they sure did, over 40%, but you need the other things to be a factor. You got to limit turnovers. You got to control the glass. They didn't do that against UTEP, but they sure did do it quite a lot the rest of the way.
Yep, and one of those was in their most recent win in the Summit League Championship tournament. It was against North Dakota, and they had a 70-62 win in that one.
Yeah, and that's something that is called momentum builder, right? Something that can get you momentum before you make the trip to the NCAA tournament, wherever that might be. Of course, for the Bison, it's in Buffalo against Michigan State, and it's something that you get yourself a momentum win, especially in a conference tournament. That also gives you a little bit more success and a little bit more resume builder when it comes to the voters and Selection Sunday. So everything went right for this North Dakota State group at the end of the year. We'll see if that trend continues in the postseason.
Certainly some of these Michigan State losses as well just really stung throughout the season. One of those, though, most notably was the loss against Minnesota. And really interestingly enough, a lot of their worst losses have been away from home so far this season. Yeah, and that one, MSU just didn't have everything working for them. It was a part of that 7-game stretch that they just didn't have all the pieces for them in that one. And that's something where you can't go back in the past and change it. That's why they call the past the past. So you move on from it. But for MSU and all the seniors on this team, they have sure said, and they'll continue to say, I'm sure, that they wish they could have that one back. That's definitely true. Going off of that, though, they made up for it a little bit with some big wins as well, like a big win here in East Lansing against number 5 Illinois in overtime. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you're talking all about Minnesota. Oh my goodness, you lose at Minnesota. What are you going to do? The sky is falling. And then how about this? A patented Michigan State get back right when you need it against the number 5 team in the country. Everything was working for Michigan State in this one. They didn't shoot the 3 ball that well. They were 27% from 3, but everything else was working. They were getting to the rim. They were kicking it out. And it was this big 3 by Kerr Tang at the end of regulation that pushed MSU in front. That's definitely a good win to move into the postseason with, to kind of look back on and be like, yeah, we can play against these big teams. Now, there's so much to look forward to with this team, Jack. You and I will both be in Buffalo, and Spartan Sports Report will have you updated as well with some updates on our social media. But now we're going to toss it to our friends Jacob and Kyle to break down Michigan State hockey's postseason hopes. Thank you so much, Jack and Michaela, and welcome in to
to Studio E. Kyle Keegan alongside my good friend and longtime partner, Jacob Maurer. Jacob, let's do that hockey.
Yeah, let's talk the stick and puck. Michigan State, they have a good program for the third straight year. And for the third straight year, they've won the Big Ten regular season title. That means they were the 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. And they played last Saturday in the Big Ten semifinals against Ohio State in front of a nice Munn Ice Arena crowd.
Yeah, let's get right into the action in that one. And in the early going, Michigan State was hot as they wanted to ride that momentum with the fans. Here's an east to west pass right here, like acres to Brody. It's Shane Van Sage. Bang! 1-0 Sparty.
But we halfway to the first we go, and there we find the response from the Buckeyes. Riley Thompson with the space in the goal. We're knotted right back up.
Early on in the second, Jake Carabello with the snipe from the right circle. This came on the power play, giving Ohio State its first lead of the night, 2-1 Buckeyes.
Spartans then found themselves on their own power play, and it was a great feed and a little slip and slide score from Porter Martone. We are level at 2.
And it was a game so tight, it needed more than 60. And after 2 minutes in overtime, it's Felix Caron with the slapper to break Spartan hearts. The game winner ends MSU's bid at a double three-peat in the Big Ten and advances OSU to the Big Ten tournament final for the second consecutive year.
And after Michigan State's loss in the Big Ten tournament semifinal, it will look to get an at-large bid to make the NCAA hockey tournament starting in 2 weeks. But this is a Spartan team that has a really good resume, Kyle.
Yeah, they do have a great resume, and we're going to get into that in just a second, some more of the specifics in that. But I agree. Despite the fact that they didn't win the Big Ten tournament for the third consecutive year, they've done more than enough to be considered a top 16 team this year. I'm still projecting them as a 1 seed coming up in the NCAA tournament.
Well, it's good to hear your projection, but what about the committee? Maybe Michigan State will try to make their case right now. Maybe we can make it for them by looking at their best victories of the season. We're going to start first early on in the season. Second series for Michigan State mid-October after a rocky first one. They go on the road against number 1 Boston in the Tea Party town of extravaganzas, and they sweep the Terriers on the road, including an overtime win in game number 2 from the captain, Matt Basgall. This was big for Michigan State and really solidified them as a contender early on.
Oh yeah, it set the tone for the rest of the season. They went to Beantown and they needed to make up for that upset against New Hampshire the week prior. They split that season opening series, losing that first game, but it gave the fans, the program, the players, the team, just everybody so much confidence to get that sweep against BU, who was ranked number 1 at the time, as you mentioned, and that set the tone for the Big Ten season. And of course, a big series sweep against a big rival in the Big Ten, Penn State.
Yeah, and against Penn State, it was a season series of 4 games. It included 2 blowouts for Michigan State and 2 thrilling overtime wins, including this one at Munn Ice Arena and another one at Beaver Stadium. But overall, Michigan State dominated the Nittany Lions and really allowed the Spartans to just more so capitalize on their already number 1 ranking going into these matchups and really allowed the Spartans to solidify themselves once again at the top, Kyle.
Yeah, you see Charlie Stramel right there. He had a hat trick in Happy Valley in Beaver Stadium. You see the overtime winner right there that secured the 4-0 sweep for Michigan State. And Jacob, another thing about this matchup, all 4 times this team played, they were both ranked in the top 5. So they were big-time momentum points for Michigan State in the Big Ten standings, a massive reason why they went on to win their 3rd consecutive title.
A lot of big ranked wins for Michigan State, but perhaps we haven't covered the biggest one yet. We're going to go to the duel in the D, where the Spartans always play the Michigan Wolverines, and after losing in Game 1 in Ann Arbor the night prior, they go to Detroit, ranked number 1 and 2 in the country, and Michigan State just dominated.
That's right, a final score of 5-2. The offense clicking on all cylinders in this one. Porter Martone snipe right there, and a beautiful Sally as well. Like I said, Michigan State just had Michigan's number in the duel in the D the last 3 years. Their 3rd consecutive win in this game. They only split the season series 2-2 with their in-state rivals this season, but they'll take the trophy back home.
Yeah, and certainly, and that win allowed Michigan State to not only jump Michigan in the rankings, but also the Big Ten standings, and allowed them to win the Big Ten title for the 3rd straight year in a row. But now going into tournament play for Michigan State, again, they've been good for the past 3 seasons, but the last 2 tournament runs haven't gotten as far as the Spartans may have hoped. And now I guess we got to transition into some of the keys for Michigan State to travel further, Kyle.
Yeah, lots of key players, key facets, lots of big aspects. Why Michigan State was such a dominant team this year. And we'll send it down to the ice for more from us on that.
Made it here to Munn Ice Arena in one piece, and of course, if you take a look down there, we had to, fit the theme here, Kyle.
Well, you got to add a little bit of credibility to your analysis. So we got some skates, we got a stick, we got a puck, and we're ready to go.
We do have a puck and a stick, but those aren't the objects we're going to be talking about. This segment is called Objects to Victory for Michigan State. The keys for the Spartans to try to win the NCAA tournament. We'll do it through objects. First one, right here, Kyle.
Well, the brick here represents, well, even though it's only one, really a bunch of bricks and cement and time and development. And that's how you get a brick wall, and that's how you get Trey Augustine. In his third year here with the Spartans, been one of the best goalies in the country, up for the Mike Richter Award, and he's just been so dominant in a season that we really didn't know if he'd be back in the green and white.
Yeah, .93 save percentage against Big Ten play for Trey Augustine. And as you talked about, after his first 2 seasons with the Spartans, the question was he going to come back? He did, and we always know in tournament play, if you have a hot goaltender, you can make it pretty far. And we'll try to make it a little bit farther here down the ice as we go to object number 2.
Yes, we can get there. We lost the puck.
We did.
Got the duck, though.
We do. This duck represents, well, let's take a look at it first. Sunglasses, nice little captain's hat, but we're not talking about the captains for Michigan State. It's actually the freshmen and how they have to duck away from the pressure, right? A lot of freshmen in their first NCAA tournament might get the heebie-jeebies, a little bit scared, right? But this Michigan State freshman class has just been outstanding. Porter Martone, Caden Lindstrom, Riker Lee, Anthony Romani have been some of the best scoring freshmen for the Spartans this season, and they filled in a lot of big holes.
Yeah, you're right, because the Spartans had a lot of key departures from last season. Carson Dorwart leaving, Joey Larson leaving, of course, Hobie Baker winner Isaac Howard. So you got to have those freshmen step up into those big roles, and that's what they've done, particularly Porter Martone, 46 points this year, 23 goals, 23 assists, but really you got to give credit to all of them. Lee, Romani, Barnhill, all of them. They've been excellent so far this season.
Yeah, they'll look to keep it rolling as we do as well. We somehow got the puck back, but we'll go to our final object. Kyle, take it away.
Well, every great team's got to have a rock, and luckily this Michigan State team has a few. It's their senior leadership core. It has been just so impressive so far this season. Danny Russell up to 100 career points now with the Spartans, and he's done it mostly in the bottom 6 on that forward role. Of course, you can't talk about the seniors without talking about Charlie Stramel, without talking about the captain, Matt Basgall. Overall, this unit has been cohesive, and they're going to need to be at the top of their game if they want to win a national championship.
Yeah, certainly the rock for Michigan State seniors, trying to lead their final push to try to win an NCAA championship. The Spartans will try not to slip.
Yeah, and you know who else didn't slip? Us during this segment.
Didn't. No.
Got to be pretty happy with that. And with that, send it back to Jack and Michaela in the studio.
So much fun, you guys. Oh my goodness.
I mean, that is some great stuff right there from 2 sharp-dressed men. They always do great work. And the men's hockey team also similarly in the same boat as the men's basketball team, suffering 2 losses in the Big Ten tournament between those 2 teams.
Yep, I would have fallen flat on my face, I think, in another sport I would have fallen flat on my face in is the women's gymnastics team, and they're getting ready to head to the Big Ten championships next week. And we had Paige Murray with some more from their senior day meet yesterday against Brown.
Senior night at Michigan State wasn't just another meet. It was a celebration of a team that has grown together, faced adversity, and defined what Spartan gymnastics is all about. This Spartan team has had to adapt constantly. Injuries and lineup changes forced them to rethink their approach. But through it all, the athletes stayed committed to the process.
Every couple of weeks we're rethinking things we haven't had to deal with before. And I think what's great about this team is they just stayed on course. They, believed in our process and everything that, we've been trying to get the program to do, continue raising the bar. They have integrity, they respect each other, they trust each other, they, bend over backwards for each other, and that's outside of the gym. So it's the leadership abound that we're losing with this team is going to be hard.
For senior Stephanie Lebster, senior night marked the peak of years immersed in Spartan gymnastics, watching from the stands, training in the gym, and now leading on the floor.
Grown up literally since I was a baby. I've been coming to East Lansing, coming to all kinds of sporting events, gymnastics included. Special for me this year because it's the first time that I've gotten into lineups on floor, and that's just been like really rewarding because I've had to persevere through a lot of different things, injuries and all kinds of stuff, and so this season has just been amazing for me and so much fun, and like being surrounded by all the fans is like, it just means so much to me.
Competition drives them, but never divides them. Every gymnast pushes herself and her teammates higher.
Competing for lineup spots against each other. They're right there to help each other. They want what's best for the program.
And on senior night, the spotlight belonged to Nikki Smith. Her perfect 10 on 4 was a defining moment, both for her and for her team.
It was such a special moment to do it in front of my home crowd and on senior night. I was so excited, and I'm so thankful for everyone who have helped me get here.
She should have had that 2 or 3 times this year. And others, not just her, but some vaults. There's some good stuff happening, but when it comes, and it goes in the record books.
This team is defined not by one performance, but by years of perseverance, leadership, and trust. Senior night was a celebration of that culture and the bonds that will last long after the routines are done.
The last 4 years have meant so much to me. Just being able to do the sport that I love with so many great people, and I just love them so much. They're my family.
They'll start their postseason conquest this Saturday in Champaign in the session against Michigan, Minnesota, and UCLA.
And from a mat that takes up a lot of chalk to a mat that has a lot of sweat on it, Michaela, this Michigan State men's wrestling team maybe didn't have its best year in 2025-26, but 2 wrestlers sure did have a lot of success at the Big Ten championships, specifically redshirt sophomore Clayton Jones in the 149-pound weight class. He was able to beat Gavin Brown at that Big Ten tournament, and then also after that, he defeated number 18 ranked Chance Lamer of Nebraska just 35 seconds into the match. So Clayton Jones and then redshirt junior Cale Whistler, who will be playing in the 197-pound weight class. He's ranked 22 in the Intermat rankings and 24-10 overall. So those 2 Spartans will be traveling to Cleveland. Best of luck to them. Hopefully they bring this Michigan State wrestling team some success.
Now it's time to talk about some women's basketball, and we're going to send it over to Will English and Jack David in the studio.
Thank you, Jack and Michaela, and you're absolutely right. We talked men's basketball, hockey, gymnastics, wrestling, but now let's break into some women's basketball. Just like the men's, the women's bracket came out last night, and it was a real good one, William.
It was a lot of great 1 seeds involved. You have UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas, all the overall 1 seeds. UConn, of course, undefeated across the season. UCLA undefeated in conference play. And when we look at MSU's region, specifically the Sacramento region, the top 4 seeds there, South Carolina, Iowa, TCU, and Oklahoma. So a lot of competition there for the Spartans.
Absolutely. And that region is filled with a ton of teams. 3 of those teams are actually from the Big Ten.
Yeah, keep going. Okay, 3 of those teams are from the Big Ten, Washington, USC, and Iowa. All teams that MSU has faced 2-1 against those squads. There also is a potential Sweet 16 matchup to look at against the number 1 ranked USC Gamecocks. Of course, a women's college basketball powerhouse. But to get to that USC game, they have to go through Oklahoma, a team that has definitely nothing to scoff at. They have beaten South Carolina in overtime earlier this year. They have losses as well to LSU, Texas, Vanderbilt, UCLA, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. All of those teams, except for Ole Miss and Kentucky, all 1 or 2 seeds in the tournament, so definitely nothing to scoff at. And when we look at the overall tournament for Michigan State, they, of course, had the tournament watch party yesterday, and we can look at a reaction from then.
really hard to make it. I think it's absolutely a reflection of a body of work over the course of a season. I think you absolutely have to cherish it, and then you also have to shift into a mentality of there is another level required this time of the year.
And we're back now. Here we go. Now let's take a look at how the Spartans really were able to get here to this point to get the 5 seed.
Yeah, program best start at 17-1. They achieved that after beating number 24 Nebraska 73-71 here in East Lansing. Also got some ranked wins over Ole Miss, Washington, and including Nebraska. So a lot of tough competition for the Spartans. But towards the end of the season, it didn't go so well. 3-6 since February 1st. That game in East Lansing against the Michigan Wolverines. They also faced 5 ranked opponents in that stretch, including Michigan twice.
Exactly, and they took that bad stretch there, kind of carried it on to the first round of the Big Ten tournament where they lost to the Illinois Fighting Illini 71-69. In that game, we did see a career high from Kennedy Blair. She had 30, but it wasn't enough for MSU, and they got booted immediately.
They did. Kennedy Blair has had to step up huge in that game and in the season overall due to an injury to Theron Halleck. She injured her foot early in the season against Rutgers. Attempted to come back, was unable to. But some other Spartans have stepped up as well.
They really have.
In the star point guard's absence.
Exactly. It's been an award-winning year for the Spartans. Kennedy Blair and Grace Flan-Sluten were both able to get all Big Ten second team in both the coaches and the media, and then also Rashunda Jones got all Big Ten defensive team by the media.
Yeah, and we look at the Spartans recap here, but let's go ahead and look at their opponent, the Colorado State Rams, the Mountain West Tournament champions. They beat Air Force in that championship game 56-42. They were also pretty dominant in the Mountain West as well.
Exactly. On the year, they went 27-7, 15-5 in that conference, and their defense is just one of the best in the entire country, William.
Yeah, 25th in the nation in terms of defensive rating at 85.1. Also the 7th best scoring defense in the country at 54.9 points per game. That's aided them into a 9-game winning streak dating all the way back to February. They've held teams to 52.2 points per game in that stretch.
Exactly, and we look at the matchup history between the Rams and the Spartans. This is the second time they've actually ever played. The first time they played was in 2011 in Mexico, actually, where the Spartans went 72-45. For the Rams, this is their first tournament appearance since 2016 and their 7th overall. The last time they won a tournament game was 25 years ago against the Maryland Terrapins. And all time, the Rams are 5-6 in tournament games.
Yeah, almost a decade since they've been to the dance, but they are back due to some of their leading scorers. Lexi Bargesser, 15.3 points per game. That puts her in the 95th percentile in the country, as well as Chloe Freeby. She's the leading rebounder at 6.8 rebounds per game, the 98th percentile in the country. So a lot of key guards for this Colorado State team.
Exactly, and Freeby, as you can see on this graphic here, is the leading rebounder for the Rams, just like Kennedy Blair's the leading rebounder for the Spartans, both guards. Kennedy Blair, 14.4 points per game. Froby, just under 11 points per game. Blair, much more efficient from the field at 51, and Froby, 44. But as you can see, Blair dishes it out a ton, nearly 5.5 assists per game for her, while Froby is at 2.5.
Yeah, definitely an interesting comparison. We really don't see point guards leading their teams in rebounding, and we also don't see a paint matchup like this one, especially with the numbers between these two sides.
Exactly. On the CSU side, they are second in the nation in opposing points in the paint per game at 19.5, and the MSU is 7th in the nation at points per game in that paint at 42.7. So the Rams like to stop teams from getting in the paint. MSU thrives in the paint, so it's really going to have to be a tug-of-war match to see what gives.
It will be, and the MSU defense will also have to step up. Since that February 1st date that we mentioned, they are 353rd in the nation in defensive rating at 107.9. And I believe there are only around 360 teams.
Around 360 teams in D1, just to give you some context there on that ranking.
But a great mark for the Spartans. And they also had to make advantage of their offensive possessions. This Colorado State Rams team, first in the nation in turnovers allowed per game at just 10.1. 15.2% of MSU possessions start with live ball turnovers. That's 14th in the nation. So they're definitely going to have to find a way to get that ball.
Exactly. They love their turnovers. They're not probably going to be able to get them with the Rams. But for MSU, I would say one of the biggest keys to this game is just play your game. Don't try, too much here. Colorado State is 159th in the nation in points per game at 65.9. MSU is 10th at 83. So back to that point there. If MSU can play their game, play that offense, yes, that paint battle will be tough against the Rams, but if they can able to do what they need to do, they should have a good chance here.
And they should for sure. And if that paint game doesn't work, they can look towards the perimeter. A player they can look to for perimeter production is Jaylen Brown. She has had a couple of 20-point performances in her first year in the green and white, including a 21-point performance against Michigan here in East Lansing. 9 for 12 from the field in that one, 2 for 3 from three-point range. And we look at her first start of the season on the first day of the year, 20 points in that one, 8 for 13 from the field, 4 for 5 from three-point percentage. She's definitely stepped up, and she might have to step up again here for the green and white.
Exactly. We'll see if she steps up. Maybe we see Emma Shue may step up. She's great from the perimeter as well, but it's really going to be an awesome matchup between the Rams and the Spartans. We'll see that game Friday at 7:30 p.m., and we're going to send it back to the newsroom from William and I. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys. Good luck to the women's basketball team as well as all of our Spartan athletes competing this weekend.
And if you're a Spartan fan, alumni, or just a fan of Michigan State athletics, appreciate it, because there's not that many programs in the nation that have this much success, especially success over so many years. So appreciate the time that you have it, because it's been a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And also make sure that you're in tune with all of our updates for Spartan Sports Report. We'll have coverage all over this month. So make sure you drop a like, drop a comment, stay in tune with all the content. So from Spartan Sports Report, I'm Jack Sager.
I'm Michaela Mazza. From all of us here at SSR, thank you for watching and have a great week. We'll see you next week.